Rem, I'm not gonna lie, this weekend it just felt like there were 4 or 5, 6, 8 games that were all down to the wire. But last
Mm,
night's was not that one of those, as the 49ers totally destroy the Giants in starting off week 3.
hmm
Yeah, I don't know. It was just weird. All Sunday we're kind of at the edge of the seat. Games are going back and forth. And then yesterday we see Daniel Jones running for his life.
And these Thursday night games too, like had the potential to be weird. And I think even at halftime, like this game wasn't necessarily a blowout at halftime. And I know some of the stats, even on Purdy, like the pressure stats, were saying that he wasn't getting pressured. The bad throw stats were saying that he was pretty on target for the lot of the game. But I mean, the first half of this game was shaky, and you're coming off a Thursday night game where, last week you have the Eagles look a little bit shaky. The Vikings, you're able to keep that game close in the end. But I think the 49ers just laying the second half smackdown on this team was like, okay, yeah, even on the short week with Ayuk out as well, too. Just it seemed like having to force the ball in a way to Deebo Samuel in the first half was getting Brock Purdy in trouble again with forcing some passes. But Deebo Samuel after the catch figured everything out. And yeah, I mean, this team just, I think, again, proved where, these Thursday night games have a chance to be weird and wonky. And the Giants, played well in the second half of Sunday night. So you don't know if they're starting to turn things around as well. I mean, Saquon is out with injury for this game. But yeah, the 49ers control things in the second half. And I mean, McCaffrey, 18 for 85, but he was fantastic in this game. The only reason he didn't get to 90, I think, is because I had him in a same game parlay
Of
where
course.
90 plus, Deebo Samuel 70 plus and a touchdown hits with ease. And McCaffrey finished is 1 yard short of that. But I think out of that, it was all things humming for the Niners, which again, like Purdy, I think, like, did you think Purdy played an amazing game in this game? And still, like, statistically, everything was, on point for the San Francisco team.
Yeah, no, I don't think he did. I had seen some arguments where some people were even questioning if Daniel Jones is a better quarterback. It's just
Well,
the
come on.
situation and team. I'm like, I wouldn't go that far, but I do understand why why it's a little hard to, give Purdy a lot of credit because there is a reason why he was the last pick in the draft. He doesn't have
Mm,
great tangibles. You can see he doesn't really push the ball down the field, which is great for this, which is, which his team makes up for because they have a lot of players who are great at getting yards after the catch in Deebo Samuel. 129 yards, which is great on the day. Christian
yeah.
McCaffrey is one of the best at it. Also, he tied Jerry Rice for the most consecutive games for scoring a touchdown as a 49er.
I know.
So
I saw that.
considering
That's
he just
crazy.
that's crazy. Just joined the team and
Yeah.
he's already like pushing Jerry Rice stats, which is wild. But I do think, similar to past quarterbacks that the 49ers have, I guess mostly Jimmy G, but I guess with
hmm
Alex Smith as well,
Mm.
is that's far back for y'all, is not really being able to air out the ball and make those deep passes. And you could see like once or twice when he did pass deep. I think there was that not the touchdown to Bell, but I think it was to the other corner where he scored it. He just kind of flung it out there. It didn't feel like
Was
there
that
was a
one to
lot of
Debo?
accuracy. Yeah, I think it was out to Debo, and thankfully he made a great catch on it. But it just kind of feels like Purdy it's only short and intermediate throws, and he can't
Mm.
really air the ball. And as long as he's not making mistakes, which he's not, this team will just go out and win. They'll get it done. Kind of like with the Jets, they just need someone to not mess up their plans. And sadly, they got Zach White under center. But kind of
Yeah.
that thing where everything is set, so they just need a quarterback to be, B plus or B minus, C plus, and just get the ball to their playmakers who will finish the plays.
No, you're right. Because and that Debo Samuel thing too. That was very similar to the IU touchdown in Week 1 against the Steelers, where I think it was even like same pylon, technically, like same area of the field. Where I mean, it's fade jump ball play to your receiver, but there have been times in these games where Purdy has been under pressure, and you can see the lack of arm strength. You know, be an issue for him where he's falling backwards, not really able to get the power under the throw that he wants to. But I think that the doubt with Purdy is, for me, like, people being so quickly to doubt him is kind of confusing because, I mean, this is the second season that we've seen him play in. But remember, like, he did come in at the end of last year. So this is really only his 8th start in the NFL. So through Purdy's first 8 starts, I mean, he's been pretty fantastic. He's 68% completion percentage, 15 touchdowns to 2 interceptions over 8 games, 113 quarterback rating. And per 17 games, he's on pace for about 3,900 yards. So, I mean, he's not from a yardage standpoint, and on pace for about 32 touchdowns as well. But again, if that was a rookie season, and more importantly, he's 11-1 as a starter for this Niners team. So Garoppolo, who we loved on this team, was fantastic for him, but Purdy just doesn't make a lot of those bad throws that even in this last game against Buffalo, where Garoppolo had that screen where it's just like a lazy attempt over the D lineman. The D lineman bats it and intercept it. This game against New York had, maybe a little bit more of that than we've seen from Purdy. But again, in the second half, he's still able to manage everything perfectly. And if he had started in week 1 and we were in week 8 of Purdy, like, do you think the narrative of how differently people talked about him would be if it was, if this was the start of the season versus, the coming off the bench of last year, replacing an injury, subbing in, and just being like, people thinking like he's, just like the typical backup that's playing well. Is he like is this like a hot streak for Purdy, or is this like actually who he is? But I think if he was just a one guy and this was, just a normal year 1 guy, and this was week 8 for him, I don't know. I feel like people would feel differently about how he's perceived on this Niners team.
I mean, there is, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, with him, yeah, of course, like you mentioned, he's 8-0, hasn't lost as a starter, which is 3rd most wins by a quarterback. I think number 1 is Ben Roethlisberger, 15 in a row. Shout out. But I think with Purdy, that might be partially it. It's just, I think there's also just how much talent on this team that there is. It just, you can see the difference in talent levels between, one of the best, if not the best running back in the game. Probably Deebo Samuel, I think, is the best in terms of an Army Swiss knife, wide receiver running the ball. Kittle, can be right up there with Kelsey in terms of the best tight end in the league. And so when you have all these pieces, Trent Williams on the offense, showing how to swing on them, when you have all these pieces at this high level, and then you have Brock Purdy, who may not be we wouldn't say a bad quarterback, but above average, you can see that gap a lot more easily when you have all these players who are, showing greatness every time they step on the field. And then you have Brock Purdy, who's throwing it 5 yards down the field. I think PFF was saying that, it was an average depth of target rate at 7.1, 7.5, and -2, respectively. I think in terms of the wide receivers he was throwing to. So he's throwing about 6-7 yards down the field. So, I mean, it's not really airing out the ball. There isn't really pushing it down the field. But it's getting it done. It's getting it done. The 49ers, I think they got a new set of downs on 3rd down 81% of the time during that game. Giants 52, according to PFF. So, again, they're getting it done. He's doing the job. It's just, you see that gap between him and everyone else. And, while I think you're right. If it was the same year, then it would be like, what's going on with this, almost rookie-like sensation. I don't know. Maybe could be rookie if I don't know what the rules are that, like, the
I think he's probably not technically a rookie anymore.
Yeah. But. Yeah. If you played in the same year, I don't know. But because we've seen him a little bit of last year, and we had that initial shine with being in the playoffs and making that conference championship, then that's what the expectation is. He is one of the 2 best quarterbacks in the conference. And that's the standard he's going to be held to. And especially when his team is this good with this kind of expectations, that's why there's a little bit of disappointment when you can only see him throw the ball 7 yards down the field.
I think Roethlisberger is kind of an interesting comp for him because I don't think obviously they're the same kind of player. But statistically, I mean, Roethlisberger through his first starts, and you're right, he was undefeated through his first, yeah, I guess his first 15 starts, but that again carries over into his sophomore season. So if you just go, he starts week 3 as a rookie, wins the next 13 games. Completion percentage, 67% to Brock Purdy's 68, 15 touchdowns, 9 interceptions to Brock Purdy's 2. Now, like you're saying, 8 yards an attempt for Roethlisberger, and he can create on the move a little bit more than Purdy. They're different players, but I mean, when we're talking about like a guy that can manage a team, like that's again what all that we've needed from like a quarterback on these Niners teams. It's what we've wanted from Jimmy Garoppolo. And I actually like the fact I like that it's played out this way where he started late in the year, got into the playoffs, because again, now he's actually going to have the full regular season under his belt going into the playoffs, but he's also going to go into these playoff games as, like you're saying, like technically kind of a pseudo rookie quarterback, but a rookie quarterback that already has playoff starts under his belt and has played in big moments and felt that pressure. I know he got hurt in that NFC Championship game, and I think there's a really good shot that they beat the Eagles in that game if he's healthy, but that's a big spot for him. And to at least be like in those moments is, I think, really going to benefit him in this playoff run, because I think like we're seeing after this Thursday night game, the way they lay the smackdown on the Giants at the end of this, in the second half of this game, do you think they're the best team in the league right now? I know both of us probably would have said the Chiefs going into that season. I mean, that's probably more connected with Pat Mahomes, but I feel like the Niners are just the safest pick right now. And Purdy is, I think, a big reason for that because he's been so consistent.
Yeah, and we've seen, in past years with the Chiefs, something that we've mentioned is that race to 30. Whoever gets to 30 is going to win the game. And then, each of their 3 games this season, San Francisco has scored 30. They've gotten to that point first. And, like we mentioned, we may have these concerns about Purdy, but at the end of the day, it kind of doesn't matter. I mean, the 49ers had 201 yards after the catch, second most of any team this season. Giants finished the game with 150 total yards rushing and running.
And how many did the Niners have after the catch? 200?
201. Yeah. And one. Can't forget that one. But it just shows their dominance. When the 49ers, going through from last year, that little bit of Purdy starting, they've scored 30 or more points in 6 straight regular season games, staying in the last year, longest streak of any team in the last 10 seasons. So I think, Shanahan, Shanahan, he, every year he always has these complaints, everyone's hurt, blah, blah, blah. It looks like the Ravens have the bug this year. And he just, he's actually got him healthy. He's, we've seen it. We know what he can do in terms of the playbook, as long as, the players are managed and they all do their jobs, what they're doing right now. And you have all these elite players. There's no reason that this shouldn't be the best, if not one of the best. I mean, I guess the Eagles, we could look, they have some issues on offense. There's some questions there. So they definitely look like the best team in the league coming out the gate. And it's going to be interesting to see what team besides the Eagles can really stand in their way.
And we should say too, like, we're recording this Friday night. You'll be listening to this Saturday. The Cowboys in that conversation, we'll talk about the Diggs injury. Obviously, that news is out by now. That affects this race as well too. So, I mean, we could talk about how that affects it specifically, but I mean, that is a thing that's going to help separate this team. And the other thing that, going back to like Jimmy G, the thing that Jimmy G didn't have with the Niners, he had all these weapons, but he didn't have McCaffrey. And he played a couple of games with McCaffrey there at the end, but McCaffrey wasn't still like, fully integrated in the offense. And like immediately after Jimmy G leaves, they have that Tampa game. McCaffrey has 14 carries for 119 yards, or I guess not after Jimmy G leaves, but after he gets hurt in the Miami game. And, this game again, 18 for 85, only 4.7 yards per attempt compared to almost 6 yards an attempt through the first 2 games. But I mean, you can still see all the special McCaffrey stuff in this game and how they use it and, just how effective it is. And it's really been like like, is this like the McCaffrey? Is the McCaffrey Shanahan? Is that head coach running back duo? Is that just like is this the most perfect system a running back has ever been? Like, at least, I mean, you can go back to the days when they actually ran the football and that was like the main thing. But, from us just watching it, like for me, I don't know if I've ever seen a running back that just fits more perfectly with what a coach wants to do. And the offensive line has secretly had struggles in pass protection this year with Brock Purdy, but run blocking, I mean, it's just insane what they're able to pull off and consistently get holes open for McCaffrey. So again, 85 yards in this game, but maybe Henry with the Titans, but if it just felt like the Titans, with Henry were more, it felt like the other like big productive running backs in our lifetimes, the offenses were just more focused on them. And while this Niners offense is obviously super focused on McCaffrey, it's just like, well, it's also what they're doing that's helping him get all this production as well.
Yeah, I mean, when you see the zone running, which they've been doing for a couple of years, the movement, they're just always super creative in terms of running and how they get the ball out there. And I think it's really interesting when you look at kind of the philosophy that's been building year by year with the 49ers, where they have that, initial Super Bowl run, but they're continuing to build talent, develop talent year by year. And, we've seen the injuries and it's been kind of up and down. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I've been a little bit critical of the 49ers future, but it seems like this year they're kind of putting all the pieces together and it's starting to look like, they have a solid foundation, they have a culture, and now they brought in their superstar last year. He was a little bit hurt and they still made it to the conference championship game. I mean, if Purdy's healthy, who knows what happens? I think what was the final score? 27-7. I mean, I think it was, yeah, it was closer than, who knows what happens if he's healthy. And
doesn't McCaffrey got hurt in that game too as well, right?
Yeah. And he was, I mean, they almost had him to play quarterback when he was healthy. Yeah. So, I mean, they got, a game away from the Super Bowl again. And so now they run it all back and they're looking great again. And that's why Shanahan and Lynch got these huge, they got multi-year contract extensions.
That was today.
Friday. Yeah, today. And, you take a step back and look at their time so far with San Francisco. Obviously, there's the Kaepernick run, with Harbaugh, with that team, your boy, Jim Harbaugh. But it starts to go downhill after that. After a 2-14 season in 2016, they bring those two guys in. And over the past...
Is that the Chip Kelly run?
I think so. Yeah, Kelly. Yeah, he fired Kelly. Yeah. And they wanted stability. And they bring over the past 4 seasons, the 49ers, they've been in a Super Bowl. They've been to 2 other NFC championship games. So 3 of the 4 years, they've been the top 2 teams in the conference. And they've had 45 regular season wins. That's 4th most in the NFL, and 6 playoff victories. That's 2nd most in the NFL. So, they're right up there with, top 3, top 4 teams in the country over the past 4 years after having some time to build together. But every year it's felt like they've been missing 1 or 2 pieces, or they've been hurt, or there's just a little bit. So Purdy can, not be in their way. I think this may be the 49ers year to go all the way. And, obviously a preseason, dock the Eagles to be there. But I mean, if the 49ers are healthy, I don't know if the Eagles can stop them. I think that's the matchup right now. That's kind of like
Niners Eagles,
the two giants starting to, you can see the eventual climb towards each other. Because that's going to be a crazy conference championship game. But I think they're like the top 2, and then it's just a gap, and then like the Cowboys.
It looks like on that Chip Kelly staff in 2016, Kevin O'Connell was an offensive assistant. Who knew? Who knew he
intriguing.
He started early. So with the McCaffrey Shanahan combo, I have a little would you rather. So this is if you're just starting a team from scratch, this is would you rather the McCaffrey Shanahan head coach running back combo over these head coach quarterback options. So I know nobody wants the running backs right now. Nobody values them. Maybe that comes back up in Piercing Truth a little bit later. Who knows? But again, this just McCaffrey Shanahan thing seems so perfect. It seems like a match made in heaven. So would you rather, if you're starting a team, you have nobody else, your foundational pieces, you can have Shanahan and McCaffrey, or a heavy hitter for the first one. You could have Steichen and Anthony Richardson
Oh my gosh.
on
Coming
the
in with a heavy.
Colts.
I'm gonna take the pair that's going on a 13 regular season game winning streak. Second longest in the franchise
Oh,
history.
oh
Storied
no.
franchise in the 49ers. Don't even need to start listing off names.
The best offensive player in the league since Jerry Rice.
I don't know. Maybe it's the air in the Bay. Who knows? And being in the Bay Area down the road. I don't know. I might have to go to a game now.
Oh no. Are you actually taking the running back over Anthony Richardson?
I don't know. Or Anthony, yeah, yeah.
Okay, there we go. The running
Shane
back.
Steichen is also kind of a killer.
You like Shane Steichen or don't?
No. It kind of kills the deal. Like the gap between Steichen and Shanahan, at least in terms of resume.
That's fair. That's fair. This is another big head coaching gap, but the player gap is much, much smaller. Would you rather Brandon Staley and Justin Herbert? I mean, you get Herbert, but you have to take Staley. He's the coach right now. Would you risk it? Would you risk it with Herbert with Staley?
Yikes.
Just the running back.
That's tough, man. I take Shanahan, man. It's tough.
Oh,
it's tough,
Staley.
Though. It's tough though. I don't. Yeah.
I mean, he's doing it in real life. He's throwing people off the Justin Herbert scent.
Can I see Herbert win a playoff game?
Yeah, I don't know if that's going to happen with Staley. So that's fair. The McCaffrey's already won more playoff games with Shanahan than Herbert has with Staley.
Yeah.
But NFL, don't pay your running backs. Would you rather Mike McCarthy and Dak Prescott?
I thought you said McCarthy and Rodgers. McCarthy and Prescott.
And Rodgers. Yeah. McCarthy and Prescott, or Shanahan and McCaffrey. Starting a team from scratch.
Yeah.
Oh, is that more out on Prescott, more out on McCarthy?
Both. I've been out on McCarthy for a while.
What if you get Dan Quinn on the staff to help the defense?
Okay, but that's cheating now.
Okay.
He's the running player. Dan Quinn's a good defensive coordinator. One of the best in the league.
Last one. Bill Belichick and Mac Jones.
Why is this a question? You didn't come with real hitters, man. Like Trevor Lawrence and Doug Peterson. Like, are you taking them or?
Well, I mean, is there a case? Is there a case there?
It's close. I mean, 1 year. This year, you're taking this year.
If you're starting a team, I don't know. I just don't think you got to take Lawrence, right? Peterson's still. I mean, he's not Staley in that situation. I don't think.
Exactly. I mean, you're getting the best running back in the league, or top 10, top 8 quarterback.
Dan Campbell and Jared Goff. I don't know. Is it how high up
Jordan
the list do you
Love
go?
And Matt LaFleur. Love look kind of good. That might come up later. I don't know.
That's a tough one. That's a good one. Cousins and O'Connell.
Who would you take? Cousins or O'Connell?
What do you mean? Over who?
Over Shanahan and McCaffrey.
Which one?
Yeah.
Wait, which option?
Yeah.
Over Shanahan, McCaffrey, which one?
O'Connell and Cousins.
I think I would take Shanahan, McCaffrey.
Yeah.
Just because it would just be a Cousins thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess how many quarterbacks would you take? And the Shanahan thing is strong too. I mean, because Mahomes and Reed, obviously, you're not taking him over.
Mahomes and Reed.
Two and McDaniels?
No. McDaniels is
yeah, they're safe.
McDaniels is my guy, man.
They feel pretty safe.
Zach White and
Robert Saleh after the Hard Knocks.
Rodgers.
I mean, it's like Sirianni and Hurts? You're still safe there, right?
Yeah, we're safe. Allen and
McDermott, yeah, like you're still taking that combo.
Yeah, Burrow and Taylor.
I think
One-legged Burrow and Taylor. I don't know.
I think so. I think as of 9/22/2023, entering week 3, I think it's still safe to say that Burrow. We'd rather have Burrow.
Yeah. Lamar and Harbaugh.
Yeah, Lamar. You're still taking Lamar for sure. Stroud and DeMeco Ryans. That's a tough one. I don't know. I honestly
don't know.
don't know.
Stafford and McVay. That's tough. Same division. That's a good one.
I'm definitely not taking Stafford and McVay in a game against Shanahan and McCaffrey because I think Shanahan's won like 9 of his last 10 against McVay or something like that.
Yeah.
Pretty dominant.
Dominant.
Geno Smith and Pete Carroll.
Yep, I'm taking them all day.
I guess you're taking him over anybody in that division already.
Mm-hmm.
Gannon, when Kyler comes back, Gannon and Kyler. Jonathan Gannon.
My gosh. Not even close. All right, should we get into the week 3 picks?
Yeah. Doing the draft?
Yeah, is there anything from last week? I was so mad